anything today? All right, so if you've taken time to look at your Canvas page, you can see that we have 3 programs that we're going to be working on this week. So the first 2 programs I'm going to do with you, and then the third program, which is the Donut Delight program, you're going to be doing on your own. And basically that program will just be a combination of what we have learned up until that point, okay? So remember that we will build, everything that we do, we build upon each other. So your Donut Delight will include group boxes, text boxes, radio buttons, labels, message boxes. Yes, sir.
Like numbers and math?
It will involve numbers and math because you will be purchasing donuts and the donuts will be different prices. Okay, so this challenge program is worth 200 points. Listen to me very carefully. The challenge program is worth 200 points. So some of you are struggling because you're not doing the work when you're in the classroom. So please remember that those of you that are at home, it is the expectation that you're following along when we do the live meetings and write your code down. And then when you're in the classroom, you are creating your programs. So please make sure that you're taking adequate notes as we go through so that when you're in the classroom, you will be prepared and ready with the limited amount of time that we have. All right, so the first program that we're going to work on today is called Scope. So let me fix the nobody in your class has Wi-Fi? Well, we have Wi-Fi. I mean, it's
maybe my router in my room is like that.
But it shouldn't matter though, because it doesn't matter where you're at in the building, you should still be able to get the Wi-Fi. Trace is here if you want to go down and
Should I just go get him?
I would go get him. Because you guys' Wi-Fi is working, right? Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so let's get the day started. Let's make sure we're able to see the board. Uh-oh. Oh. No. Why is this always such a struggle? Because it's backwards. No. No? Oh, God, it's backwards. Oh, there it goes. Sorry, that's weird. Okay. There. Can everybody see the board? Huh? Is that okay? All right, cool. Okay. Can everybody at home hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah,
Claude.
I can hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, y'all let me know if anybody says anything. Okay, so today we're going to work with global variables. So we've already learned about variables. Hold on, let me disable my email here. We've already learned about variables, and we've actually been working with variables. But as of right now, the only thing we've been working on is procedural variables. So there are different types of variables. There are different types of variables, and the different types of variables are referred to as the scope of the variable. So does anybody recall, you have to let me know if you can't see the paper. Does anybody recall the 3 different types of variables that we have? It was in a PowerPoint that we covered back at the beginning. Yeah, so we've got global, very good, local, there's one more, global, local, anybody at home know the third one? Procedural. So these are the 3 different types: global, local, and procedural. It is important for you to understand that these 3 different types of variables are important. So right now, we've only been, I said procedural, but right now the only variable that we have worked with so far is local. Okay, so we've only been doing local variables. So how do we declare a variable? So we dim a variable. So if you're wanting to create, first of all, what is a variable? What is the purpose of a variable? Yeah, so a variable is just simply a placeholder. Okay, so it's a placeholder. So it's just a place in storage. So it's a placeholder in storage. And why do we need this? Why do we need placeholders? Why do we need these? Yeah, so when the user types in something in a text box, we need that information to be stored somewhere. So remember, if you have a text box, you have to have a variable. If you have a text box, you have to have a variable it's a non-negotiable, okay? So if you're creating a text box, and remember, a text box is where the user is going to type something. So the user is going to type something, and basically it will be answers to a question that you ask. So a text box, the user will type something, and usually it will be answers to a question. And then whatever the user types in that text box is going to be moved into the variable in order for their answer to be stored, okay? So whatever they type here, so whatever they type in the text box is going to be moved into the variable. So variables are important, and sometimes you will have numerous variables to store the information. So remember that we also have variables that can store answers to processes. So in other words, if we say, okay, A plus B, and we want the answer to be stored in C. So C would be my variable, and whatever, let's say A is 1 and B is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, so 3 would be stored in C. So a variable could also be a storage location to store something that I had to add together, some type of process that I had to do, okay? So variables are extremely important. No matter what programming platform that you're working with, a variable is a variable, okay? Whether you're doing Java or Python or VB or C#, it doesn't matter. A variable is a variable. The only difference could be the syntax. So in VB, when we want to create a variable to store a number, how would we, what would the Hungarian notation be? Let's just say it was an integer. So let's say I've got A. So let's say I want to write this out in syntax. What could I do here? What could I name this? Int A. Very good. Okay. So that would be the correct syntax for this problem. Int A plus int B is equal to int C. So whatever is stored in int A is going to be added to whatever is stored in int B, and then that answer is going to be moved into int C. So variables are extremely important. And like I said, no matter what the programming language is, you will have variables. The only thing that may be different is possibly how the syntax is for the naming of the variable. All right, so today, now like I said, we've already been working with local. Today, we're also going to work with global. So a local variable just works within that one sub-procedure. Hey,
You have internet, right?
I have internet. I don't know why he doesn't have internet.
There's like sporadic rooms that don't have internet.
So,
And that doesn't make sense because you're on the same IDF as they are.
well, my thing is like, I mean, Wi-Fi, it shouldn't just be to
No,
one room.
it
It goes across.
Yeah, it can't. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense.
Yes, he took one of my laptops. I
And
mean,
he checked them. Yeah, he said as soon as he went into his room, it dropped the internet.
that doesn't make
That
any
doesn't make
sense to
any
me
sense.
at all.
All right, cool.
Because you guys are got the internet, right? No
Yeah,
issues.
everyone's good on the internet, right?
Yeah, because they should be watching me, right? They got, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
all right. I don't know. I'll figure it. I just wanted to come check with you.
Yeah,
first.
that's weird though. That's what I didn't understand.
Yeah. All right,
Okay,
appreciate it.
no problem. All right. So right now, the only thing that we've covered is a local variable, okay? So a local variable, like I said, is just simply used within a sub procedure. As I did not spell sub procedure right. Sub procedure. Is that right? Procdd. Yes. So a local variable is used within a sub procedure. Now, so keep this in mind. If it is a local variable, it can only be used in that one sub procedure, okay? But if you want to be able to use a variable in multiple sub procedures, you have to declare it as a global variable, okay? So today we're going to try to understand the difference between global and local. So if you declare something globally, so if it's global, it can be used anywhere. And you need to remember that. If it is global, it can be used anywhere. Now, in essence, I could probably create all my variables as global, but there's really no need for me to do that, okay? Just easier to create the variable when I need it, but there are times when I would need to have a variable that was global because I would want to use it more than one time. In most programming languages, they refer to using a variable as call. Don't turn my power off in here.
What power off?
I thought you was clicking the power. Oh gosh. Okay, go away, Trace. So if you call a variable, that means that you're saying, okay, whatever is the answer. So if I called int C, that means it would put the number 3 in the location where I was calling it. And I know that sounds weird, but that's just how it's said. That's just what programmers refer to it as. When you call a variable, that means that you're going to use that answer somewhere. Okay? All right, any questions before we get started on today's program? So everybody has this written down, yes? Everybody good at home? Are there any questions from anybody at home? No questions from anybody at home? Okay. Today we're going to create a program called Scope. And this Scope program is going to use a global and a local variable. So we're going to create a program called Scope, and it's going to use a global and a local variable. The variable is going to be called int x. So the variable is going to be called int x. I'm going to create me a form. So I want your form to look very similar. Oh my gosh. It does, I promise it doesn't look that bad on my paper. So my form.
We define problem now.
My problem. Well, yeah, so I'm defining the problem. So my problem. So my problem is I need a program that has a global and local variable called int x. So I'm going to use this variable called int x globally and locally, okay? My solution.
Faculty, staff, and students, please pardon this interruption. Faculty, if you could do me a favor and please check your internet connection in your classroom. If you are having connectivity issues and have not spoken with Mr. McDonald, please call the front desk and let us know in your classroom. Again, that's only if you are having internet connection issues and have not spoken with Mr. McDonald. Thank you.
I don't understand that. Like, okay, we're technology people in here, right? How is it that we can have Wi-Fi in this room, but then you go across the hall and there's no Wi-Fi? See that?
You can have that, because all the Wi-Fi routers around it would have to be like projecting the signal, so it's like it not just goes.
But is it not the same? I mean, yes. So
Signal inside of his room, that's the only way.
Unless he has like a blocker
Like a
somewhere.
signal jammer, yeah, it's the only way.
you know that's against the law, right?
Yeah, but
It's against the law. Yeah, but what if he has like, I don't know. He
What if there's
has
something
a block,
unintentionally blocking the signal?
yeah.
Yeah,
But see, even if the one in his room has gone bad, there's each classroom has, which so there should be a weak signal that could be picked up, right? I mean,
It would be a weak signal, but it'd still be able to work. It
Well,
just
that's
takes
what
a
I'm
long
thinking.
time to like load and stuff. So
sorry, we're off topic, children, but yes. So there's one classroom in our building that their Wi-Fi is not working, and we don't really understand why. Anyways, all right, so. No, it doesn't make any sense to me. You know what makes sense to me? Variables. Variables make sense to me. So, this form, we're going to name this form FRM scope. FRM scope is going to be the name. So remember, the name, of course, is just simply the syntax. Some of you really need to start doing a better job at your naming. And we'll have the text to read, so what the user's going to see, and we'll call it variable scope. Variable scope is what we're going to have the text to be. So that'll be the text. Okay? We're going to have one label up at the top, and we'll call this LBL. Let's call it LBL scope answer. So remember that your name never has any blank spaces, but the first letter of each word needs to be a capital letter. So the first 3 letters are lowercase, and then the first letter of each word is capital, but there are no blank spaces. So LBL scope answer. Right now, I have no idea what's going to be inside the label. Okay, so we'll leave the text as blank. I want 2 buttons. So underneath it, I'm going to have 2 buttons. The first button is going to be for local. And the second button is going to be global. And we'll name the buttons BT local and BTN global. BTN local and BTN global. So the only thing that's going to happen with this program is that when the user clicks the button, an answer is going to appear based off of however I declare the variable. So we're going to have a local variable for int x, and we're going to have a global variable for int x. Typically, you would not have a variable with the same name, but in this exercise, we're going to put it as the same name. So that's the only thing the form is going to look like. So we've got 2 buttons, and we've got a label that's going to hold the answer. Any questions from anybody at home?
Local and global are the text of the button.
Yes, so inside the button, it should say local and global. Yes, BTN local and BTN global. All right, everybody ready to move forward? So now we're going to write our pseudocode. So now step 3, we're going to write the code. So now remember, when you're looking at your form, an event has to happen in order for you to have code. We've got 2 events that are going to take place. So the user can click on the button for local and they can click on the button for global. So these are the 2 events that's going to happen. There is no user input, so I have no text, simply have a label and 2 buttons. Remember, whenever you're doing your code, you want to work from top down. So the very first event that could occur is going to be local. So the first sub procedure is going to be for the BTN local. Okay? So the first sub procedure is going to be for the BTN local. And it's going to be a click event. So we know that when the user clicks the button local, I want something to happen. So the first thing that I want to do is to declare the variable. So I want to dim int x as an integer, and I want to go ahead and declare it to have a value of 5. So I'm going to go ahead and assign it. So remember, you learned about assignments. So whenever you're declaring a variable, if you put an equal sign, whatever follows the equal sign is what's going to be stored in the variable. So when we declare this variable, it's going to create a place in storage called int x. It is an integer, and it's going to go ahead and assign the number 5 to be stored in the int x integer. Okay? So we're going to declare it, and we're going to move the number 5 into it. Does everybody understand? Okay? All right. Now, the next thing that I want to do is simply have my output. So there's really nothing here that needs to be processed. The only thing I want to do is to simply, so I don't have to get data from the user, because there is none. So the next thing I want to do is just simply show results. So I just want to simply show the results, and I want the results to be shown in, what do we call it? LBL scope answer. So for LBL scope answer, I want it to be dot text. I've got to always remember that. So LBL answer should have text. So dot text, and it's going to be equal to whatever is currently stored in int x. For this particular example, I'm not doing the convert to integer, but typically whenever I have an integer, it probably would be a good idea to do the cint and then put the integer in parentheses. But for this example, either way is going to work. But depending on your programming language, it may force you to convert it to an integer in order to move it into the label.
So you're saying that we don't have to put CI in?
For this one, you don't have to, and a lot of times you don't, but it's a good practice to always convert it.
So always put it even if you don't need it?
Yes. I probably should have said that. It's for this program, it's going to work. There's no process that's taking place. I'm just moving the number 5, and it's really not being used for any type of calculation, so it's fine. Okay, so that's it. So that's it for the local button. Now, so this is all within this sub procedure for the BTN local. The next one I want to do is the BTN global. And here again, that is also a click event. So when the user clicks this button, the only thing that's going to happen here is I'm going to show a result. And I'm doing this a little backwards, but it's okay. So the result that I want to be shown here is going to be for LBL scope answer dot text to be equal to int x. Now, the reason that this is the only thing I have to write here is because I need int x to be declared globally. So for the local variable, so if I have a local variable, it has to be declared within the local. So within the sub procedure, I have to declare the variable. But if it's a global variable has to be declared somewhere else. Okay? Is everybody listening to me? Now, you know at the very top of your program, so at the very top of your program where it says public class, so you know at the very top it's going to say public class. Okay, everybody remembers that, yes? The line after public class is the line that you're going to go to declare any global variables, okay? So the lines directly underneath public class are used for global variables. So now I want to dim int x as integer, but globally, I want it to be 10. So globally, I want int x to have a value of 10. Locally, I want int x to have a value of 5. But globally, I want it to have a value of 10. Okay? And probably I should put a comment up here above it, and let's just say declare global variable. Sorry, I ran out of room. Declare global variable. And that's it. So that is the pseudocode. Does everybody at home have it written down? All right, so let's do this. I am going to go ahead and post your challenge program. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun.
Wait, are there two forms? I think that's.
No, it's one form.
Oh, two groups.
Okay, so let me do this so I won't confuse you, okay? All right. So I will post this on Canvas starting today. But I just want you to see and listen to me very carefully. I want your form to look exactly like this. If it does not look exactly like this, I will take off points. I hope those of you at home hear me. So I will post this on Canvas. So you need to be prepared to create your form to look exactly like this. So it says, how many donuts would you like? We have a group box that says types of donuts. You have 4 radio buttons. So we're going to only allow the user to pick one type of donut. So remember, radio buttons, you can only select one. Oh, I forgot. We have a text box over here. So that's a text box. How many donuts would you like? Some of you are going to be like 24 or whatever. Remember, each donut has 52 grams of carbs per donut.
It doesn't matter.
They're always a minimum of 52.
No.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
They do not. That is a lie.
No, it's not.
Nope, that's a lie. A glazed donut has 52 grams of carbs. I have looked it up.
No,
Oh, nope. Now I'm going to disagree with you.
I can prove it to you.
Nope. I do not believe you.
He's gonna prove it to you.
Now, listen. So here's the deal. Listen to me very carefully. Here's the deal. So each donut costs a different price. So a glazed donut costs 50 cents. Chocolate costs 65 cents. Blueberry is 75 cents. And lemon is 60 cents. So you're going to have to take how many they want. You're going to have to multiply it by how much those donuts cost. And then you're going to have a label that's going to display what they want. You're going to click the button, and then here is going to be the price. So then over here, I am going to have what I want your form to look like. So here, they want 5 donuts. They want 5 blueberry donuts. In the label, it says you chose the blueberry donuts. They are only 75 cents each. Notice the formatting. You're going to click the button. It says your total cost is $3.75. So that is a decimal there, by the way. And then when they click the button, it shows this, and there's a message box that's going to display that says have a great day. Okay?
what?
So what I want you to do at home, not only did you need to make sure that you wrote down our scope program that we did today, because when you come into class on Wednesday, you're going to do the scope program. And then on Thursday, you have 2 programs that you're going to be working on. I don't know that we'll finish this program this week, because tomorrow we are doing another program.
Yay.
Okay? But you need to start working on the pseudocode here.
So for Monday and Tuesday, people, we might not finish this week,
Right,
but because we have 2 other programs that we're doing.
right.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to continue on. So here it says you're going to add the controls shown in the design image above, okay? So here's the solution. So I've already created the solution for you. You just need to make sure what I would do is make sure I know this is a label. What do I want to name the label? This is a text box. What do I want to name the text box? Here's a group box. What should it be named? 4 radio buttons, a label, a button, and another label. So you need to decide what's the correct syntax for this stuff. It says declare variables for the price of a donut and for the. It says the price of the donut will be set in each radio button. Click change event. So declare the price variable globally. So this is important that we're learning global and local, because this program will have a global variable. It says this way you can use the price variable in the button click. So you're going to create your radio button change events, display the appropriate message and the cost of that type of donut on separate lines. Set the price variable equal to the appropriate price. And then in the button, it says display the total cost in the second label. Your cost should be formatted. So we've learned, or well, there's been a PowerPoint that showed you how to format this number so that it looks like this. So you might need to reference back one of the PowerPoints that we've covered before, okay? So that's your challenge problem. I'll talk a little more about it tomorrow, but I will go ahead and post this so that you can start working on your naming and your pseudocode, okay? Questions? All right, now, so keep in mind that last week there were several of you that did not get the work completed in class. You are so behind now. You have got to make sure that when you're in the classroom working on your programs, that you've already got the code written. So it is imperative that you're writing your code, following along with me, and then when you're having to do something on your own, you're referencing back the code that we've done in class. So everything builds on each other. So you should be able to reference old code, or you should be able to look at a PowerPoint to help you with something that you're struggling with, okay? Are there any questions? All right, tomorrow we're going to do this second program that's going to be due, and it's counting, right? Yes.
We'll be marked as classes tomorrow, like that, or like do as the next time you come into class.
No, tomorrow we'll do the counting program together, and then you're going to create it. And then once you get it created, you can start on your donut program.
Like start writing the code after we finish.
Yes. Well, actually, you could start writing the code anytime, but you'll need to start programming your donut program tomorrow. Okay. All right. Any questions from anybody at home? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and post the donut assignments. That way, those of you at home can start working on your pseudocode. So you need to be getting that written down. And then when you're in class on Wednesday, you'll do your global. And so the program that they're getting ready to do now, the one that we just did together, you're going to do on Wednesday. Those people that are in class right now, I want you to go ahead and get started on the program for the scope. Okay? Any questions at home? Any questions in the classroom?
Not a question.
All right, very good. So I will see everybody tomorrow. We will have another live lesson tomorrow. Okay, have a great day.